We are going to continue our conversation about social media and how far it's come, for better or worse. How have sites like Facebook and Twitter and blogs affected the way we behave online and the values we portray on the internet? And to answer some of these questions, we're going to return again to our guest, Dr. Michael Nedsley, an assistant professor at the Singapore Management University, Dr. Adrian Wang, a consultant psychiatrist at Gleneagles Medical Centre, and also with them, a local blogger, Peggy Heng, known online also as Thai Dowager. Okay, welcome back, guys. So we were talking earlier about, how it's such a grey area, the grey line between, I guess, what can be seen as right and wrong. It's been termed moral disengagement, this fact that you can sort of be someone else online and be a different persona. I mean, is that something, I don't know, we all have inherent in us as people? We just are looking for a platform and we didn't have one until Facebook or...
Well, like I was saying, people tend to be a bit more disinhibited when they're online because they think that people are not, people cannot respond directly to them right away. So sometimes you unleash a lot of things you've been suppressing, a lot of rage, a lot of anger. You're saying it's like road rage. Yeah. So you do things that you normally wouldn't do in a room full of people. So
if there was a different platform, if there was a different way we could, I don't know, express ourselves, give vent ourselves, maybe there wouldn't be so much of this pent-up, I don't know, comment, or is this very much a reactive thing? That
it's a reactive thing.
It's like literally, they say poke you online, right? You get poked and you're like...
And then it's like when you tweet, when you're angry, it's like those English footballers, when they're angry or when they're emotional, you just want to say it right away. And then you
so Peggy, how do you react to that? Because people do react instantly from a comment you made. You put it out and 5 seconds later someone's replying to you in a somewhat negative and fairly critical, manner.
But you need to know what's their motive. They are waiting for me to respond to them. And when I don't respond, it's like, they can try harder, but after that they just give up. Yeah.
So how do we draw a line? How do we know what is okay to post online, what is not okay? I mean, I don't know if we have a clear answer for that, but Michael, you want to take a crack at it?
Well, when I talk to my students, I basically give 2 pieces of advice. Number 1, would you be willing to say it to my face? And number 2, how would you feel if your grandmother understood what you just did?
Ah, okay.
Good classic rules are timeless.
Yeah, so some of these guys will say, yeah, it's fine. It doesn't matter what my grandmother thinks, and I want everyone to see this. I mean, for example, if we talk about some of the more racy pictures online, are there other ways we can sort of rein in this behavior, other measurements, other ways to perhaps teach people what is right or wrong?
Well, socially, this is going to have to be worked out. The media are still new, and going back to that notion of moral disengagement, what we're seeing in more advanced social media markets is people will maintain simultaneously 3, 4, or 5 different online accounts or personas, and they move seamlessly between them. So as a society, rather than arguing right or wrong, we need to start talking about what are we actually going to do about this, and that's the hard part.
I guess also because right and wrong is very blurred, and in some cultures it may be acceptable, in others it may not, or even in certain platforms it may be acceptable, where you can have certain activity on these kind of websites but not on these other types of websites. So is it again a question of where you're putting the pictures, the information, or where you're sharing your things?
I think there'll always be people who are going to post racy pictures or say something inflammatory. So I agree that we can't really police it. It can be guidelines and education, parents, educators, we all have a role. But you'll always have somebody who's going to have a...
So there's no point having a hard and fast rule saying this is black, this is white, this is okay, this is not, because we'll never be able to really enforce it, as you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. And I think we're sitting at a rather unusual and unique time where some of these cases are getting a tremendous amount of publicity, but we're not yet seeing any significant repercussions. There are some penalties and such, but no major problems. So right now, I think it probably feels very safe to do some provocative things online.
Well, Peggy, share with us. I mean, where are some of the instances where you've thought twice about putting something on? Perhaps you've thought, I don't know if I should write about this or post about this. What were some of the considerations that went through your head before you wrote about that?
I think, as a blogger, I have to think about my consequences that I might face if I choose to post it up. And I do a lot of researches to find out whether it is against the law. So I am being safe, but then again, because it's a free platform for everybody to use. People can choose to abuse it anytime they want to.
Right.
Yeah, because, you know, they cannot be anonymous, unknown, but because I'm known, that's why I have to be very careful.
Yeah, it's not really a fair playing field. I mean,
It's very unfair.
in that sense. Well, I'm gonna post you some questions from some of the folks who have written into our Facebook page. One from TC Line asking, you know, we'll paraphrase this question. He says, the internet is a public space, so should we police it? How different is it from traditional public spaces? So I guess if you think about a traditional common open space here where we will physically gather versus the virtual space, I mean, is there a way to police that?
Well, like we were saying, I don't think you can police it, but people forget that whatever they say or do, you leave an electronic trail. So if they want to get you, they can get you. You know, you can be identified. So you think you're anonymous, but not really.
The IP address is there, so you really need to think twice about what you post, actually.
And certainly these online search mobs, in particular, we've seen them out of China. They find you.
Okay.
So there's.
But then. So that's usually if you go to the extreme and they really need to find you, they will do that. But otherwise, on a day-to-day basis, do you think it's self-policing? Will the online virtual world be able to come in at some point in time where after a while, you know, there is an understanding that this is what you do post? There already is, to a certain extent, an understanding of what you can and cannot put online.
Actually, people will understand after all the different examples, you know, that people have put up. Like the better examples, the racy photos and all that. I mean, people will start to understand that, you know, what kind of consequences they may face after, and they won't do it again, I guess.
Okay, one other question we had from Hafiz Salim saying, in the eyes of the law, am I wrong? Should the allegations be proven false later, as I've shared what my friend's friend shared? So someone puts a comment, you share it with someone else, it gets shared again, and then later on they prove that what the guy said was not true at all. Does that put you in hot soup?
That's an incredibly difficult question. Certainly, it's a situation that is far from ideal, and within hours, false information can crystallize and become true. How we recover from that, I'm not sure I have a good answer yet to that question. It's certainly one of the major problems we're facing.
But I guess the caution is you should always, before sharing something, you know, in a way as best you can, sort of do more research on it. While Emperor Nero has come out to ask, do you guys really think what they did was wrong? I mean, how do we even begin to define right and wrong? And this is in reference to the couple who decided to put sexually explicit pictures of themselves online. He's referring to that. So he's saying, do you really think that was wrong? Is it so wrong? Because, as we mentioned earlier, it's only wrong in some parts of the world or in some cultures, but not in others. Your personal comments, I guess. Peggy, let's...
I think there's no, you know, like, definition to whether it's wrong or right. But then again, like, you know, they were talking about kids being able to access such photos online. Because if it's on, like, you know, pornography sites or sites that are banned, family or parents can actually restrict access to such sites. But because these people choose to post up the photos, the kids can access to it anytime, and, you know, it would not be appropriate.
Okay, so this is again going back to certain platforms, it's okay to do that, but in some other platforms, same thing, if you have a PG show, you shouldn't be putting other racy stuff on it.
Right.
Maybe let's end off by talking about what advice you would have, I guess, for folks out there, maybe parents out there, in terms of, because it is really about sort of nurturing the young now to have that understanding so that, you know, I mean, Adrian, maybe you can share some insights.
Well, I think that one thing that you should remember is that you shouldn't say or post anything when you're in a heightened emotional state.
Right.
So when you're upset, when you're angry, when something's really ticked you off, resist immediately tweeting about it. Wait an hour, wait a day, and then think about what you say. How, you know, because like I said, it leaves an electronic footprint forever and ever.
Okay.
As I think about it, if you see something online, perhaps we've had instances of racist comments, we've had this recent blog. If you see that, don't like it, don't link to it, break the link, because then it can't continue spreading through the network.
And Peggy, any words of advice? You live and breathe, you know, online in that sense. It is your place of work, so to speak.
Yeah, so. Well, I think social media is very powerful, so use it wisely. You know, don't abuse it, and be careful of what you say online.
Okay, because as we know, as you mentioned, it always stays there forever. Well, thanks so much, guys, for coming in and sharing your insights with us this morning.